Yo. Welcome to the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, Smitty. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Joe, Drew. What's going on, fellas?
What's up,
bro? Man? How we doing?
I'm doing good. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving, including you two. We are back for another week. We were just talking about it right before I hit go live. I don't know if you guys follow. You guys have been following along with us the entire time. You guys know that at one point I had a 6-game winning streak going on in our dynasty league that we are all in, which bumped me up to 6-3. I am now back to 6-6, so I might have the streakiest dynasty team of all time. 0-3, then to 6-3, now back to 6-6.
Hey, just think of it like the New York Giants when they won the Super Bowl, right? It's like they started hot, they went cold, and you just pick it up right at the right time. That's why we're here. We'll get the lineup right, and hopefully you're not playing me this week. Otherwise, I'm telling you lies.
Hey, immediately we got a question as soon as we pressed go live. Gibson or Mooney?
I mean, a lot to unpack there. I think that Mooney has kind of taken over, at least from like a fantasy perspective, as the wide receiver one in Chicago, which is about as worthwhile as like being like a wide receiver 3 for the Rams, which is super fun. What's interesting though is really the injury, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this in a little bit. But the injury to J.D. McKissic, that is a big hole for the Washington offense. If you look at how they utilize Gibson, he's not really a third down player because he's a terrible pass blocker. And J.D. McKissic was great at that, and he was also a great receiving back. So that kind of limited the amount of touches that Gibson's going to get. Gibson struggled a little bit in the middle of the year. He had that hairline fracture in his shin. I think Gibson's going to have a strong finish here. So if I have to choose between the two, assuming full PPR, I would choose Gibson. And if you're in less than a full PPR, then that even skews it even further for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna roll with Gibson, especially for this week. Darnell Mooney has a tough matchup. They have the Cardinals. I'd like to stay away from that. And in terms of J.D. McKissic, I didn't have him on the list because it looks like he's going to be okay. Looks like he just had a pretty scary hit. Maybe got the win.
Yeah. Rivera talked about it afterwards, and his agent even put a tweet out saying that it wasn't anything to be concerned about. I want to say, though, with Mooney, I don't know if you guys remember before the season started, I said he would finish as a top 25 receiver. Do you guys know where he is right now?
No, I don't. But I know he's got to be close.
26. Yeah, but you know what's very interesting, and I know this just because I'm looking at the screen right now. You know who's number 25?
No.
Kendrick Bourne.
Oh, yeah. He's 23 in a couple formats, too. I saw it today. And he's not rostered in majority of leagues.
I don't know that we've brought him up once on this show. I don't recall ever bringing his name up, and I'm like, was it mainly because of 1 week or what?
He's had a few weeks here where I think he scored multiple touchdowns. So I think that's what's
so. Yeah, I'm looking at it, just running through here. He has 3 different weeks where he scored at least 21, and then he has 2 other weeks where he scored at least 14. So, yeah, some outlier weeks there. It's pretty much half stud weeks, half dud weeks. So,
Mac Jones is coming on, so I think it's something to monitor. He should be rostered for sure.
Hey, real quick, not related to fantasy football, but I just got a package in from Pristine Auction. This is going to be, I don't know if I made the announcement on here or not, if I talked about it at all. Yeah, I did. But we're going to be doing a live show Wednesday, December 8th with Yinzhers, with all money going to Rocking Around the 412. So I just got the stuff in. So I know this one's going to be hard to see because it's literally just looks like it's like a piece of wood wrapped. This is a game-used and autographed piece of stick by Chris Letang of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So that's pretty dope. Never had something like that.
That's just the leg chair from your table. You forgot to give it to that woman, Joe.
Minka Fitzpatrick autographed jersey. I don't care what Colin Dunlap says. Pay him.
Twice. Pay him twice.
He doesn't know shit.
Dermontti Dawson autographed jersey with the Hall of Fame 2012.
I like that.
TJ.
So I don't want to pull this out. So I'm literally just showing you pretty much a piece of cardboard. But what's inside here is an autographed 11x14 Joe Hayden photo. But I don't want to open this because I can literally just ship it out in this exact same thing. So I'm not touching that.
Andrew McCutcheon just said blue cap.
What?
Andrew McCutcheon said blue cap. The lie. What's in there?
And then I've never seen this logo on a helmet, but
That's interesting.
Cam Hayward autographed helmet.
That's a full sizer, huh?
Yeah.
Dope.
So
That's really sick.
bam. Anyways, what we're going to do with that, we're doing a live show with Yinshers. It's going to be a little bit different format. We're actually going to do it like a live auction show. So the highest bidder on each item will win each one. I'm trying to look at what the comments say because I see DJ's here now. Tyler's here now. What's going on, fellas? Why did Tyler say, who is this?
He was asking about Kendrick Bourne because he came in probably.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, okay.
Also, one last thing about the whole Gibson thing. The Raiders have been the 5th worst team against running backs in the last 3 weeks in fantasy. So they're getting about 23.4 points per game.
Yeah.
So really liking that matchup for them. And Drew, like you mentioned, the matchup for Mooney's a little bit tougher. But he's putting up yards. He's got up to what, 2 or 3 weeks now, 100 yards?
Yeah. That's scoring touchdowns, though.
We should talk about that Raiders matchup real quick, just because we don't have Derek Carr on here in our top 10 quarterbacks. But I noticed that we do have Hunter Renfrow make an appearance as a top 10 wide receiver option this week. And then with no Darren Waller, Foster Moreau is a top 10 tight end as well.
Yeah. So Hunter Renfrow has actually been balling out this year. I mean, we talked about Kendrick Bourne a little bit, but Renfro's really been getting it done. He's been great, like as far as like a consistency perspective goes. He's been like money for like 6 catches, 60 yards, like give or take, pretty much every week of the season. I want to pull up his numbers to see where he's at in the rankings right now. But
say Yahoo has him as wide receiver 22 right now. That's
right.
But
his last like 3 or 4 weeks, like I think he's found the end zone a couple times and he's looked really good. So let me pull it up. I have his player card right here.
Tyler's a question too.
ESPN.
So last week he had 8 catches on 9 targets, 134 receiving yards. So let's see what else game log wise that he's got. But on the season, he's got 64 catches, 658 yards, 4 TDs. Hard to really complain about that, especially as someone who wasn't really even drafted. I like him a lot this week. They've been giving him the ball a lot. I think he does get a lot more pressure this week. But the benefit of them having Deshaun Jackson now is they still have someone that can take the air off. So they can't just bracket him and let Jackson do whatever he wants. So they obviously have been taking a lot of hits in the receiver tight end room. But I do think that Renfro's in for a good week.
He has the safest floor of probably any player in fantasy football, in my opinion, because he's getting probably 8 or 9 targets every week, and they're all short passes that are turning into receptions. In PPR, he's just...
Hey, what about Deontay Johnson?
Well, obviously, his upside is obviously much greater than Renfro's, but I feel like with Renfro, you're getting at least 10 points every week guaranteed.
Yeah. Okay, so Tyler's got this question for us here. Okay, here's one. Patterson or Najee?
This is actually really tough.
Yeah, what situation is he in where he's only able to pick one of those guys? That's my question.
Yeah. I mean, Najee's really scary right now because the defense isn't stopping shit. So when they're giving up all these points, it's essentially taking him out of the game. The last 2 weeks, he's been awful because he hasn't been able to get the touches.
He has Gibson as well. So that's
okay. Patterson has the Bucks, which that could either be really, really good or really, really bad because they've been awful against running backs coming out of the backfield, but they're going to shut him down in the run game. So,
But see, that's the thing. They haven't really been shutting down the run. They're very middle of the pack here.
That's been without Vita Vea, though, right?
True.
Yeah,
Is he back yet from injury?
Yeah,
last week.
Who did they play last week? Because he shut down that running back for sure.
Last week they played Jonathan Taylor. He had 16 for 83 and a touchdown, plus 5 catches for 4 receptions. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that shut him down. I mean, they slowed him down from like the 5 touchdowns he had the week before, but 16 for 83.
He got that last touchdown pretty late though, and if he doesn't score that, he's looking at a much different day. He's looking at 7 or 8 points.
That's also Jonathan Taylor, who has been the consensus number 1 for us the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
True. I mean, I just the way that they utilize Patterson for Atlanta is just so dynamic, and he's been so incredibly efficient. Like, it's not like he touched the ball that much last week, and he still had 80 yards, 2 scores. Like, it's kind of unbelievable. So yeah, he had 16 carries, 108 yards, 2 scores. He had 2 catches. To me, I would probably consider playing all 3 of them, honestly. Baltimore is the toughest matchup on paper for fantasy football running backs right now. So that is something to consider. But I would probably take Patterson over Harris right now. Just as a Steelers fan, seeing how the offense is moving, it's been pretty bad. We know it's going to be a dogfight of a game, but who knows? It's a great problem to have, though. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Joe, did you have either one of these backs in your top 10? Because for me, like, that's what I'm going back to. In my rankings, I have Najee Harris as one of my top 10 plays. I do not have Cordero Patterson. So
I had Patterson pretty high. Let me see where I had him at. I had Patterson at 5, and I didn't have Harris in my top 10 this week.
Okay. All right. Because we can just look at that and say that's who we'd play if we only had one of those guys. And I had Harris in my top 10. I did not have Cordero Patterson.
Patterson was like a fringe guy for me. I kept him out too.
I mean, with what he's been doing, I don't know he's still listed on ESPN. Are you able to play him as either?
Yeah.
Still? Or okay. All right. Yeah, because he's wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Right.
He's wide receiver 9. And he's RB, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
He doesn't have wide receiver eligibility on ESPN anymore.
Oh, they took it off?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
I just see it here.
Tough.
Meanwhile, Najee is number 4, but yeah, the last couple weeks, game script has not been favorable for him. And you obviously have to worry about that. Again, without them being able to stop the run and Lamar Jackson coming to town. So it is a predicament. I have to say Harris just to back up my own rankings. Like, I can't that'd be hypocritical if I didn't say Harris.
Yeah. It's not an easy one. But yeah, I would say see how Vita Vea is doing. Like, he obviously is going
to I'll continue on with him. With Vita Vea there, obviously that changes things a little bit, but I still think that he's going to get enough volume in the passing game that it's probably going to work out for either way. I would find a way to start all 3 of those guys.
And he also has a claim in for Madison.
If he gets lucky there. That should be a guaranteed first guy on the waiver wire is going to snatch him up.
We have him as the number 4 running back this week.
Yeah, I had him pretty high. Every game that he comes in for Cook, he has 100 yards and a touchdown.
Speaking of Cook, let's just transition that way. We'll wait for Joe to get back in here, but you can start telling us about this Dalvin Cook injury, which looked really bad. They bring the card out. Obviously, you never want to see that, but it sounds like, yes, he's going to miss some time, but it's not season ending like you might have thought when you see that card come out.
Yeah. So it looks like he had an MRI in his shoulder. My suspicion is that he probably tore his labrum again. His other labrum is actually torn, so he's going to be playing the rest of the season with 2 torn labrums, which is going to be insane. They were making it sound like he might only miss a week, but the problem is they play the Steelers that following week on that Thursday night.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's what's going to hinder him from missing just 1 week. He's going to miss a couple. But that following week they have a Monday night game, so he'll have an extra rest, and he'll probably be back then. But, torn labrum on one side and very possible that he has another one on the other side, and he's going to miss at least 2 weeks. Hopefully it's just that, especially if you're a Dalvin Cook owner that's on the fringe of the playoffs. He's been in and out all year, so that could have been hindering you winning some matchups previously. So hopefully you
got that handcuff.
Yeah. Madison was available in a lot of leagues.
I know.
Very surprising. But
but when Dalvin Cook does come back, now with 2 torn labrums, what does this mean for him going forward? What's his rest of season outlook with that being the case?
I mean, you have to obviously think that he's been overcompensating, hitting guys with that one side. So now he's not going to have something to go to. He's just going to be taking shots. And if he takes some good ones, he might be in and out of games all year. And you might not be able to depend on him actually making it through any football games. So it's going to be really tough because you're not going to be able to sit him, but you're not going to be confident enough that you're going to get the production that you need because he might not be on the field the whole time. I could see that turning into a legit committee just because they want to keep him.
I mean, and Madison's talented enough, I think, to warrant that. We've seen what he was able to do with him, with Dalvin Cook, that is, out of the lineup. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Madison, the priority ad this week on the waiver wire, if he is available. Smart people probably already had him handcuffed with Dalvin Cook, but like you said, I mean, 2 of the 3 Yahoo leagues I'm in, he's available. So I got claims in for him. I got the second waiver priority in my one league, so hopefully I get him.
Yeah, I put him into. I want to see what his availability is right now, actually, because I feel like a lot of guys had him rostered, and then Cook came back and it just kind of forgot about him. They needed the roster space, so they just dropped him. But
short benches. I could see why.
33% in ESPN. That's crazy.
Yeah, let's see what he is in Yahoo. Because I guess with a short bench, I can kind of understand it. He is 53 in Yahoo. So. All right.
Until Joe gets back.
Joe is back. Joe's here.
Oh, he's good. All right, cool.
There he is.
Where the hell?
Never left.
I think that lady that I sold that table to earlier stole my internet when she was on the way out.
Cut the line.
Probably. Come on, Spectrum.
We were just talking about the Dalvin Cook injury.
Okay.
Obviously Madison, a top 5 play for us this week, comes in at number 4 collectively. And, not just for this week, because they're on the short week, also playing Pittsburgh on Thursday. So Cook likely out 2 games. You can get Madison for 2 games. But then what does it mean for Cook coming back? Because if what Drew is saying is true and it's a torn labrum, already has that same injury on the other side, how effective is this guy going to be going forward? And Madison, he's owned 53% of Yahoo. What is it? ESPN, did you say?
33% in ESPN.
33% in ESPN. Which is crazy.
I mean, the Steelers are by far the worst rushing defense in fantasy football right now. I'm sure this shocks you guys greatly. But yeah, I mean, he's a top 5 handcuff. Detroit on the season has been one of the worst rushing teams in football. They've kind of tightened the ship the last few weeks, so they've only given up 18.7 points per game in PPR. The Steelers, on the other hand, giving up 39.7. But giving the running back wasteland, I'd have to imagine that if you're not, if he's not on your team and he's not rostered, I would at least try for it anyway. This has happened to Cook a couple times now where he has gotten injured in the middle of the year and they kind of take it slow to get him back in time for the playoffs. So I definitely don't see him playing in the next 2 weeks. The bye is kind of convenient for him, but Madison is definitely somebody that you would want to have in like a fantasy playoff like situation. So if he's available, I don't see how you don't try to scoop him up. I don't know if I would use like all of my fab if you're in like a fab league, but I would use a pretty good chunk for it.
All right, moving on to another injury. This guy's not coming back. Christian McCaffrey placed on IR again, 3rd time this year. This time it's going to shut him down for the rest of the season. Very unfortunate. I mean, these last 2 years, I can't imagine being in Christian McCaffrey's shoes, just what's been happening the last 2 years for him there. But what does this mean? I know that, Drew, you brought up a name that's not Chuba Hubbard. Or was it Joe that brought – no, Joe, you brought up a name that's not Chuba Hubbard in that Panthers backfield. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so it was weird. So Christian McCaffrey goes down, has the ankle injury. They throw him on IR and say, all right, like, better luck next year. Hope he can kind of get on the field. He really hasn't been able to do that in the last 2 years. Kind of was the consensus number 1 pick probably for, 2 seasons now and hasn't really lived up to the hype in either year. But what's interesting is, so if you look at the total snap count for the game, Amir Abdullah actually played 49% of the snaps and Chuba Hubbard only played 20%. And Abdullah also got lots of work in the passing game. He had 6 targets. He caught 2 for 20 yards. So to me, I think that you're going to have a lot of people chomping at the bit to go after Chuba Hubbard. I think you can wait for waivers to clear to pick up someone like Amir Abdullah because they're probably not looking at that kind of stuff. And just remember that, hey, like Chuba Hubbard is the guy that, man, what is up with the world today?
We can still hear you, so you keep going.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, so it's like I think Abdullah is worth like a speculative ad here, but I wouldn't use a waiver priority on him. I would just what's it called?
Wait till he clears.
Yeah, wait till he clears.
Okay. What's Tyler saying? What was the trade that we saw for CMC, Joe?
Yeah, so Tyler and I are in a dynasty league. I've put out my flag for tanking, but McCaffrey just got traded, I believe. Let me see if I can find the trade. I actually had traded Cooper Kupp for 2 first-round picks, Robert Woods, and a second-round pick. So McCaffrey just got traded, which I think was extremely undervalued. They traded Chase Edmonds and Damian Harris for McCaffrey. I still think that
What?
Yeah, so it was like a win now move. I would have expected a little bit more there. I would have been, as someone who is tanking, I would have given up a first round pick for him easily. I would even consider maybe like a first and a second. I know Drew feels strongly otherwise about the soft tissue injuries, but from a dynasty perspective, I mean, you're kind of hoping to get someone like Christian McCaffrey. So to me, it's like, all right, like I have
You can't. Yeah, okay, like that's what, but like for Chase Edmonds and Damian Harris, are you kidding me?
Yeah, so that happened.
I'm out on CMC altogether. I'm out
on Drew Hannes.
Listen, hear
How do
me
you feel
out.
about that?
Go ahead, be out on me. Ratio. I'm out on CMC going forward. He's played 5 games in 2 years, a complete game, 5 times. That's just insane. Like, you cannot have an RB1 on your roster that's played 5 full games in 2 years. And I know I've said this, and I'm not going to celebrate his injury in any way. Like, that sucks so bad. CMC's a phenomenal player. I love watching him play, but like, it's facts. When he was a rookie, all the talk was he's too small. We don't think he can handle a season. 3 years into his career, he made everyone look like they were stupid, and he gets paid. And now it's coming back around again. He's a smaller guy. I know what you were saying, the type of player that he is and the amount of receptions that he gets and the type of volume that he gets, it's obviously going to produce a lot of fantasy points, but the dude just can't stay healthy. And like, it's just a tough, terrible situation. And I got to
change his role.
Yeah, but I mean, like at the same time, like this has happened to like quite a few players where like they've had like a bunch of just like unlucky, like I think like Keenan Allen. There was like a 3-year stretch where Keenan Allen, it was like you draft him, he has like a 15 catch game, and then the next week it was like done for the season. And it was like he popped a lung, like his knee like spun and did a 360 around his leg. Like it was like all like different stuff. I mean, granted, like this is a consistent ankle injury or like soft tissue injuries for CMC. But I would much rather
every time though. That's the thing. Like it was an ankle this time. Last year it was a shoulder. It's a hamstring. It's a groin. Like it's everything. And how old is he? Like most running backs start to break down at 28. He's only going to be 26. Like that's still young, but like he's just a smaller guy. It's so tough for me. I mean, if someone offered me, if I had to get CMC for Damian Harris and Chase Edmonds, I would have hammered the accept button into the ground. But like, it's just tough for me at this point, like going forward, to just trust the guy. Hammer it.
Is this what you would have used?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But back for like right now, and we'll get out of Dynasty. I'm out on this backfield entirely though, because their schedule during the playoffs is just insanely bad. They have Buffalo, Tampa Bay, the Saints, and then Tampa Bay again.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap.
Like there's no way you can start Chuba or Abdullah in any of those games and expect anything from them. So I'm just on that.
Yeah, well, you obviously haven't seen what some people's running back situations look like.
Like, okay, like he has DeAndre Swift and you have CMC. Like that's one thing, but like how many rosters lost both of their running backs in the same week? We can transition to DeAndre Swift, who has a shoulder.
Well, real quick, would you? Well, I'm assuming you wouldn't, but do you think that CMC going into next year is worth a first-round pick?
Not a first. Just think about what this got given up for him. I think you could go ahead and get CMC, but I just think a first-round pick is steep. Like Damian Harris and Chase Edmonds just went for him.
I mean that's one trade.
Damian Harris to me might not even be the starting running back next year. I'm really high on Ramondre Stevenson, and Chase Edmonds might not have a starting job either because James Conner's taking it away from him.
How is McCaffrey's couple years of injuries any different than Saquon, who you would have taken in the end of the first round this year?
It's different now. I thought that he was going to come back from his ACL strong. He hasn't. Like, it's the same argument. I wouldn't put Saquon either. I'm out on both of them. And I hate to be out on both of them because they're both awesome players. Like, it just sucks. Like, the injuries that they've dealt with, it sucks so bad.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how you can carry either of them going forward. If you can
I saw something the other day. It was crazy.
It didn't work as well.
It wasn't your best.
All right,
Still
we got to move on. You just mentioned DeAndre Swift, who got hurt on that Thanksgiving game, shoulder injury. What does this mean for DeAndre Swift, and where do you have like a guy like Jamal Williams rest of season, or is he not even going to be like? Are you high on like a Jamar Patterson?
So DeAndre Swift has a shoulder sprain. That's all Detroit's saying. Mm-hmm. They historically do not talk about their injuries. And the most we've gotten was Dan Campbell said he thinks it's hard to say that he would expect DeAndre Swift to play this week. He might be back next week.
Was he crying?
I don't know.
If he was crying, that definitely means he's going to miss 1 week like Aaron Jones did. Aaron Jones went and talked to his family to have an injury that made him miss 1 week.
Aaron Jones probably should have got held out this week. They didn't even really play him that much. They kind of just gave him a couple. How many carries did he have? Oh, do you know?
I don't know. AJ Dillon definitely touched him.
I don't know.
Yeah. They were better off just letting him sit.
I didn't understand it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Back to the question at hand, though.
Especially they're on bye this week.
I like Jamal Williams, but I'm not attacking him as much as I would be obviously with Alexander Madison because he might only have 1 week. But I'm on the fence with this one actually because it's kind of like a Joe Mixon type thing where last year he just kept not playing and no one knew why. They're winless. If he actually has an injury that could be significant or could get worse? I would say that there's greater than zero chance that he could get shut down completely, but like we just don't know. So that's the problem. We have no idea what they're thinking, what his injury even is.
I'm pretty sure he's on Dan Campbell's fantasy team, so I think he comes back.
Campbell also 0-10 in fantasy.
He's just trying to keep his value up.
But he always loses by like 1 point.
That tie was lit though. But question one, Aaron Jones, 10 carries, 23 yards, 1 target. So didn't do a lot last week. I like Williams. I think the way that they utilize their running backs in Detroit, like it's going to garner a lot of potential point production, especially in a PPR format. If you remember the beginning of the season, like they both looked like they could be like top like running back options. Jamal Williams definitely has the talent. I think they realized like how special of a player that Swift is. He kind of elevates that team in a way that like we knew Detroit was going to be bad going into the season. One of the knocks on his draft capital was he good enough to like lift that team, and he was. I don't think Williams has that same ability, but on pure volume alone, I think that he'll be like a nice like RB2 for the time that he's in there. So
yeah,
it really just depends.
It's just how long is he going to have the opportunity to do so? There's so
you think Jamal Williams is a better player than Darrell Williams?
Joe does. And I do too.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
Drew, we got Ezekiel Elliott popping up here. What's going on with him?
Yeah, so there was a report Friday or Saturday after their Thursday game on Thanksgiving that they might look into resting him this week. And then he practiced yesterday fully and he's practiced today. So whoever reported that's full of shit. So I expect him to be out there.
I need one of you guys to put out a report that you guys are thinking about resting me next week.
It's probably for the best. We got to get you ready for the playoffs. You had a big week last week. Just
grinding. You don't want to sit back.
It is interesting though, like the difference in like what's being reported by the team and then like what Jerry Jones has to say in a lot of these situations. Because like, for example, Amari Cooper, he's working his way back from like COVID. And so then McCarthy says like Amari Cooper, he's still coughing. If he doesn't practice tomorrow, he won't play on Thursday. Jerry Jones, however, said that no, like he's definitely playing. I fully expect him to play.
Amari, I don't think Amari's going to play because not only are they saying that he has a cough now, they're saying that he still doesn't feel right. Like
but it's the same thing with Zeke too, where it was like, oh, like maybe they're going to rest Zeke. He has this knee injury. And then Jerry Jones said that he expects them to have a serious load against New Orleans. No rest for Zeke.
Didn't Jerry Jones say that Dak would play too? Did you say something and I missed it?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I didn't say anything.
No, what do you say?
The way that Joe worded that.
What did he say?
I was reading the quote as it was said.
He said Jerry Jones expects Zeke to have a serious load against New Orleans.
That's where we're at.
Out of context around the 412.
I'm just reading the headlines, okay?
Jerry Jones was talking about loads.
Yeah, Jerry Jones doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't know what to make of that, but yeah. So Zeke practiced in full though, then he should be good.
If he, for whatever reason, doesn't play though, obviously Tony Pollard's a top 10 play. I don't care who they play; he's a top 10 play. Yeah,
Tony Pollard's a stud. Deebo Samuel, this kind of stinks. This dude's been a stud. He only had 1 reception for 12 yards in their last game. He stood at 20 fantasy points.
Yeah,
he rushing touchdown.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this backfield later on then too. So Deebo has a groin injury, and you could tell right away that it was pretty serious as soon as it happened. He literally took a step, pulled, and he just fell right to the ground, and he wasn't moving. So he's expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks. It was actually weird. I've been watching the Stephania Bell podcast because of the injury stuff that we talk about, and she's mentioned today that historically that the 49ers generally like to bring their players back from injury during a home game because of they play on natural grass, which is kind of crazy to me. So if she's right, and that's a trend, Deebo would probably miss about 2 weeks because in 3 weeks they play again on their home field. So if that's true, we'll be accurate with 1 to 2 weeks, but I never actually noticed that before. I might start to try to follow that to see if that's actually something that's been going on. But 1 to 2 weeks for his groin injury.
What if they're playing away on somewhere else that has natural grass?
I don't know. I have no idea. I thought that was interesting that she said that. I have no idea whether it's accurate or what.
She said something else that I thought was interesting too. Stone asked for that a little bit ago, and I was trying to find a way to incorporate it.
I remember when we were about substance.
Yeah, I expect this now. Don't overplay
it. Remember when we stood for something? No, but yeah, Deebo Samuel. Yeah, he's definitely gonna miss some time. You said I thought it was 1 to 2 weeks anyway.
Yeah, but it just happens that they play in 3 weeks. They play at home, so who knows?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about this one, Joe. Dan Arnold hurt.
This one hurts so much. I'm gonna bring it back around and make you feel better. Okay.
You always do.
4 to 6 weeks. Place on IR. He's likely done for the year. In Dynasty, I wouldn't drop him. Keep him for next year. I think that going forward, he's gonna get a lot of volume, and as Trevor Lawrence gets better, he's gonna be a good option going forward, starting next year. But obviously, he's done for the year. But James O'Shaughnessy stepped in, and he had 82% routes run. I think that he might be similar to a Foster Moreau to a Darren Waller, where you could throw him in there and he might produce around the same that Dan Arnold was doing. So,
well, here's the thing. So before Dan Arnold got traded to Jacksonville, O'Shaughnessy was actually pretty much doing what he did on Sunday. And then he got hurt. He's been out. He had a knee injury. He's been out for 6-8 weeks, something like that. So that's when they made the trade for Dan Arnold. And then now he's back on again. I mean, I don't think he's going to be more than 8th best tight end. But, I mean, Trevor Lawrence clearly likes to target the tight end. I mean, it's similar to Washington, where Washington, they've had injuries throughout their tight end room, and they're still putting that tight end on the field 99% of the time. Jacksonville operates very similar. That's the way that Urban Meyer seems to like to do it. So I do think if you're in a situation where maybe you have Darren Waller and you don't have somebody for a week, or if you were on the Dan Arnold train and you're looking for somewhere to go, I mean, there's worse options that you can have than O'Shaughnessy for sure.
Okay, and wrapping up talking about the Eagles with a couple injuries here. Jalen Hurts dealing with a little bit of an ankle sprain, and Miles Sanders hurt again.
Yeah, so they both have ankle injuries. There's not much clarity on what they are, but Nick Sirianni said that there is a chance that they both miss this week. If they're out, I love Boston Scott this week. For whatever reason, the dude's just been producing when Miles Sanders is out. And I
Scored
think
a touchdown last week.
Yeah, who's going to be playing for the Eagles? Who's their backup?
Gardner Minshew, quarterback.
Oh yeah, Gardner Minshew. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to think that Boston Scott gets a heavy workload this week if Hurts and Sanders misses, and
see, that's the thing. Sirianni's an idiot, and you would think that, and that's probably what he should do. But then he'll have Gainwell play 95% of the snaps.
They're playing the Jets though.
Yeah, the Jets are trash across the board against all positions.
You might be able to start either of them and find fantasy production out of both.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I know that Sanders got hurt, but Scott had 12 more snaps, had 6 more carries, and they had the same number of yards. So it's just I don't know why they refuse to utilize Miles Sanders, but.
And Jordan Howard's still out.
Right.
So it's safe. I think that there's a chance that both of them could be fantasy viable, at least flex options this week, especially if Sanders is out.
I couldn't stomach playing Gainwell. There's not a scenario where I could put him in my lineup.
Yeah, that's fair. But I
Boston
definitely
Scott, sure. Yep.
I can't think of Nick Sirianni without thinking about Ty Schmidt from Pat McAfee Show doing his impression of Nick Sirianni. That's the only thing that I think of when it comes to Nick Sirianni. Him talking about plants and relating that to building a football culture. I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but yeah, the dude's in over his head, I think, as a head coach. But hey, whatever. Hey, let's talk about Taysom Hill. I think I don't know if Tyler's here, but not that Tyler, my Tyler Weeks out in Utah. But if not, I'll have to make sure he goes back and listens to this because we might hear some good things about Taysom Hill. What's going on with Taysom Hill?
So Taysom Hill is taking the first team snaps at quarterback this week, which I find interesting.
Trevor Siemian stinks.
Yeah, he sucks. But the thing I wanted to bring up though, because Taysom Hill likely is going to start, and ESPN is all over the idea that he's a perfect streaming quarterback for this week. But I completely disagree, and I wanted to get your opinion on why.
Can I play him at tight end?
Not this year. That was great.
That was crazy.
I jumped all over him and started him at tight end that week. It was freaking awesome. But Taysom Hill has plantar fasciitis, which is an incredibly painful injury in your midfoot. And what makes Taysom Hill a viable starter at quarterback is his ability to run. So if he's dealing with pain where he's unable to run, how do you feel comfortable starting him at quarterback and expect him to drop back and pass and produce for you in fantasy football?
Yeah, you're not playing him thinking that he's going to be a pocket passer.
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing him with the expectation he's going to run somewhere between 8 to 10 times.
Yeah. So I wanted to point that out there, that if you like to read articles on ESPN on their fantasy site and you make a lot of your decisions based off that, you need to put that into play, because plantar fasciitis is very serious. It takes up to a year to recover and actually feel pain-free with that injury. And it's just, if you're going to start a running quarterback, he needs to be able to run the football. You can't, with a plantar fasciitis, it's going to be tough for him.
Well, you know what? Actually, can we go back? Let's backtrack for a second, because I forgot that I wanted to bring this up with Jalen Hurts. If that's an ankle, even if he does play, is he going to be the same Jalen Hurts, or do you need to adjust your expectations there because of that ankle?
I mean, that's a fair assessment, but we don't know the severity of his injury. Mm-hmm. I mean,
but just knowing what that it's an ankle injury.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be tougher for him to run, but we don't know the severity. If it's a minor, low-grade, low ankle sprain, not a high ankle sprain, he might be able to play through it. But we have no idea. I would assume that if it's bad enough that he can't play at 100%, why would you play him against the Jets anyways? Neither team has anyone or anything to play for. So, But like you said, Nick Sirianni's an idiot. So
True. Joe, anything on Taysom Hill?
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys are kind of like a middling matchup against QBs. They're giving up 17.3 points against. The one thing I will say is that the Saints run the ball more than any other team in the league. And I have to imagine that if they're at this level of desperation in their season, that they will have the playbook designed around him if he is the quarterback. This is going to impact Kamara. This is going to impact anybody else that you have on the team that you shouldn't probably roster. Mark Ingram, I guess, would be the other exception to that. But yeah, I just
Ingram
don't really
and Kamara
know.
have both practiced the last 2
Right.
days. So Kamara might be back as well.
Yeah, so it looks like Kamara's back. I don't know. I don't see Taysom Hill really being that great this week. If you're in a 2 QB league, then maybe you throw him in there, do something cute. I don't know. But I don't have a lot of confidence in him or his game. The one benefit that they do have is that it's a short week, so they might not have as much prep on him, so he might be able to do something a little bit wild. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see why they would give him a short week if he's been hurting and hasn't really been taking the reps. It just seems like a bad time to make that kind of coaching decision. But
Stone wanted to know if we play music while we set our fantasy lineup. She kind of wants to shake things up at practice. So this is just me. Everybody's different. But typically when I'm setting my fantasy lineup, it looks a little something like this.
Hey.
Million, J, Z, pay me.
But that's just me. So I don't know how other people are when they're setting their lineups. But
I mean, I average about 60,000 minutes of Spotify a year, so I don't think there's anything that I'm doing that doesn't have music involved to it. If you get upset about people listening to music, then just go touch grass. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Touch grass. Touch practice grass. Drew, what do we think about the Titans backfield? How did that play out? Pretty even split in terms of touches. I don't know about snaps, but in terms of touches, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I wanted to get Joe's opinion on this because they both players look good. I thought that the Patriots rush defense was pretty solid as well. I don't know if you can confirm. So Foreman with 19 carries for 109 yards and Hilliard with 12 carries for 131 yards. And neither of them did a lot in the passing game. It was all on the ground.
Right.
So I wanted to get what your take was. I feel like matchup dependent, obviously. They both looked like they were viable options.
So they split the snaps pretty much down the middle. Hilliard had 51% of the snaps. Foreman had 49. Foreman had 19 for 109 and a fumble. Hilliard had 12 for 131 and 1. Both had 1 reception. I like them both. Really like a flex play there. I didn't expect this from Hilliard at all. So it's really interesting to see how that played out. I don't think that, even though you traditionally think about Tennessee as like you have Derrick Henry, he's this bell cow back, like you don't just plug someone in to be Derrick Henry. Like you have to change the offense. I'm expecting a pretty similar split for the most part, unless one guy's just like crushing it. Then maybe he gets a little bit more work. But yeah, I think they're both flex plays. It's nice that there's only 2. I mean, it feels like in a lot of backfields, like even like New England, for example, you have like 3 players playing like a third of snaps. Like it's just not ideal. So I like it. If you've had some injuries on the team, you can try to scoop Hilliard up. You can try to scoop Foreman up. It'll be interesting to see how the pass work divvies up in time. I think everybody expected that Hilliard would be kind of more of the pass catching back. He was 2 weeks ago. But Tennessee's getting pretty banged up. Isn't AJ Brown out or having some problems? Yeah, so it's like they're running out of options there. So the ball has to go to somebody.
AJ Brown is essentially done for the fantasy football season too, if people don't realize that, because when you're on a bye during those 3 games, it doesn't count. So he's essentially going to run through the playoffs with his IR stint. So he's essentially out. They're on bye this week, so if those two guys are available, odds are they're going to clear waivers, and you should be able to attack them tomorrow morning and add them to your team. But I didn't see this game, so I wanted to get your opinion on who you think might be the goal line back. I know Hilliard scored the touchdown, but I don't know if it was like a red zone or like he had
No, Hilliard had like a 70-yard run, like right up the gut. Yeah. Let me look at something real quick.
Is there anything
I
that
was
says
just about to ask who the preferred play is? So if it's an even enough split, which it looks like it is, at least through this one game, I guess it would be whichever one is getting the goal line.
Yeah. So let me take a look. I'm going to look at Pro Football Reference. They have some good data on like carries inside the 20, inside the 10, inside the 5. Carries inside the 5 are the most predictable as far as like continued success from like a rushing option, just because you don't know when people are going to break the big ones. That's why there was a lot of value like in James Conner going into the year, because they're like, all right, Kenyon Drake was the goal line back last year, so we're expecting him to kind of pick up there, and he obviously has done amazing with that. Let me see if I can find some more stats here. Advanced rushing. Not really what I want. I'll find it. You guys can keep chatting, and I'll let you know.
Okay, let's talk about another backfield then. San Francisco. Drew, I know you're excited to talk about Elijah Mitchell. Yeah. You're so excited. You put a fire emoji by his name.
So we've been looking for players that might be league winners. I think that Elijah Mitchell is this year's league winner. I was thinking it was going to be Javonte Williams essentially all year, but the Broncos are still screwing with us and they won't commit to him, so they can go.
Last week, Javonte Williams was up to almost 60% of the snaps. So
it's got better.
It's starting to slip a little bit.
Like I want that so bad, but if we don't get it. So Elijah Mitchell had 32 touches yesterday, and that was with Deebo Samuel. I only expected to get better. He had 133 yards, a touchdown, five receptions on 6 targets. Like, he's getting the passing down work. And look at their schedule going forward throughout the playoffs. They have the Seahawks this week. Then they play the Bengals, which is like, I guess that would be like middle of the road. Then they have Atlanta, Tennessee, and Houston. There's not a single matchup there that tells me I should get them out of my lineup. I love Elijah Mitchell going forward, and I think that if you spent all that fab at the beginning of the year and you held on to him throughout this whole time, the ups and downs with his injury and lack of production, I think he's finally going to pay off, and all of that fab you spent is going to be worth it.
I love Elijah Mitchell. I've kept him on a roster throughout the entire season, just hoping that he would eventually separate from the pack. We know how Kyle Shanahan is with running backs, but I've just stayed true to it. So I hope you're right. I hope he is a lead winner type and can be that guy, because I lost Chris Carson, so I've lost one of my supposed 2 starting running backs between him and David Montgomery. So if Elijah Mitchell and Montgomery can be my 2.
I hate Kyle Shanahan for fantasy. I've hated him for years, but there's something about Elijah Mitchell that's just different. And I think that he should be their lead guy, not even just for this year. I think that they should come into next year expecting him to carry the load, because the dude's a good player.
It's just, when you said that, it just reminded me, what a shame for Mostert, man.
And Trey Sermon.
I know.
Well, Trey Sermon, they didn't ever like him. It doesn't seem like I don't even know why they drafted him, because then they went and drafted Mitchell in the 6th.
They traded up for Sermon. Yeah.
It's like a Shanahan thing, because his dad was the same way. Like, you look at like his best running backs that were all like late round, like random people off the street that just like came in killing it.
Yeah.
To answer y'all's question though from before, so Dontrell Hilliard has 3 carries, 1 inside the 20, 1 inside the 10, 1 inside the 5, and then it looks like let me find where's my guy here. Donta Foreman, 10 carries inside the 20, 6 carries inside the 10, 3 carries inside the 5. What's interesting is neither one of them have scored, so they might have some trouble punching it in, but it looks like Foreman is the goal line back, which wasn't the case when.
So they're both Clyde Edwards-Helaire then,
but not as good.
I was gonna add rookie year.
Maybe.
All right, let's wrap up talking about something that's very disappointing. And Drew, if you want to reference the Stephania Bell podcast again for this topic, you can. Let's talk about Seattle's offense, DK Metcalf, as well as just Seattle's offense as a whole, because Russell Wilson has not been the same guy. I know that his offensive line stinks. He doesn't get much help there. But when you have DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett. He's just not getting it done right now. What's going on in Seattle?
I mean, this to me is just Russell Wilson's pride just hurting him. Like the finger clearly isn't right. He had Gerald Everett last night on like a 5-yard slant in route, and he almost threw it into the stands. Like it was just awful. Like the dude he says he's pain-free. There's nothing wrong with the finger, but he just looks awful. He just looks awful. And it finally came out which finger it was. So it's his ring finger, which you got to think that's one of the more important fingers that you're holding the ball to accurately throw it. Like that's a support finger.
Yeah. I mean, I would think it would be these three, but I mean, that's like, because I don't even think I hold the ball with my pinky when I throw, but I'm also got small hands and not an NFL quarterback. So,
well, either way, we can define this offense in one word: sucks. It's awful. It's terrible.
You're adding more than one word now.
Yeah. Well, there's synonyms, Smitty.
It only takes one. You're just not choosing just one.
Yeah. I needed something to be more dynamic of a word. You cannot start these guys. Like you just can't. I texted you guys before the game. I was like, for some reason, I feel like Tyler Lockett's going to flip me off, and he flipped me off for 12 points. Like,
big day for him.
You can't start these guys. You just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, in his last 3 games with Wilson, Metcalf has 8 catches, 70 yards, and 0 touchdowns. Like, that's just tough. I don't know what you do. Like, it's one of those things where you spent the capital. DK Metcalf, 2nd, maybe 3rd round pick. Wilson, I think he was going like 6th, 7th quarterback, easily replaceable. I'd cut him. There's nothing I wouldn't even hold on to Wilson at this point. Lockett, I don't see how you can play him. I mean, even though I would have won my matchup yesterday if I played him in my work league, but it's here nor there. But yeah, the running back situation is pretty tough. The passing situation is pretty tough. Like, I agree with you. I think you have to just punt the whole offense. It's just
absolutely.
And maybe they do pick it up. I mean, you're not going to drop Metcalf. You're not going to drop Lockett, but you need to see something from Wilson. I think he came back too soon. And it's not a good look. We'll see what happens. It's really weird.
I just don't think it happens this year for Russ. Like, he needs the offseason. We'll see how he comes back next year. But, I mean, Drew, you mentioned Stephania Bell threw out there on a podcast that, like, because this is on his throwing hand, too, this very well could have been something that, like, ended his career. I mean, that's how serious we're talking.
Yep. And to your point, what you just said about maybe going to next year, there's kind of been a trend the last few years where Russ kind of just fell apart halfway through the season. Last year, the last 6 weeks, he was unstartable.
Yeah, and he was like QB1 for the first half of the season.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on. I feel like early in his career it was the opposite, where he kind of started slow and then blew up. Now it's just like he's just tanking halfway through, and I don't get it.
I don't know.
Maybe the Steelers don't want him. Or maybe, you know what? I get it. He's tanking his value because he knows that the Steelers won't give more than 1 first.
Oh, can I pull up something? Actually, I want to show you guys something else, actually.
Is this like a real thing?
Yeah.
It's just going to say, look at this ratio.
No.
Like 10 seconds.
Where is this?
I'm scared.
Somebody sent this to me earlier. And actually, everybody that's probably here is going to hate this.
While he's looking, I wanted to tell you guys something. So on ESPN, they're doing this Survivor League that I think I told you guys about this. So I thought it'd be cool if we did this, maybe with some fans of the show or whatever. But like each week, whoever has the lowest points has to completely drop their roster and they're out. And whoever gets to the end is the winner, essentially.
Oh, yeah. It's called what's the French thing?
Oh, God. It looks like
what do you guys think?
There's a turd on the screen.
Why is his helmet so melty?
OBJ left some residue.
Smitty, are you commenting to yourself?
No. Oh wow, what's up? Who's this?
Should I trade?
Z Smitty. That's wild. Should I trade?
I have Javonte Williams, and you have Jamar Chase in our dynasty.
All right, get this off the
Offer
screen.
me
I
a
can't
trade?
focus.
Hold on.
Are you
Put some
offering
respect
me a
on my $40 million quarterback, Baker Mayfield. He will get paid by the Browns.
Should
All
I
right.
trade Javonte Williams for Jamar Chase? My RBs are Zeke Mixon and Antonio Gibson.
If they are going to accept that, absolutely. Every day and twice on Sunday.
There's no way that they do, though. Unless it's Dynasty.
In Dynasty, I'm taking Chase too.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely agree. But there's a bigger argument than redraft.
Sure. I would trade any one of those running
Listen,
backs for Jamar Chase.
Smitty.
Except
my
for
man.
Mixon. Is
Yeah.
this weird for you?
I don't even. Is
He
the
went onto
Z
his
for
old
Zach?
Twitter account to
Is
comment.
the Z for Zach? That's what I want to know. Should I trade? Yeah. I don't know how much simpler we can make that, but yes, no matter what format it is. Do we care if it's PPR? I mean,
No.
If it's
Yeah.
redraft, it's an absolute no-brainer because Javonte hasn't taken the role yet.
and everyone else is just saying they threw up. Is that from seeing a second Z Smitty or seeing Russ Wilson in a Browns uniform?
There's a lot that just happened that I'm going to have to unpack after I get off this show.
All right. Do we have anything else?
He just accepted it. That's crazy.
Wow.
Or
I
she.
didn't get to finish my story, though. So this Survivor League, 6 weeks in a row, the loser to get eliminated started Pat Mahomes as his quarterback.
What?
Look at this ratio.
I know that it's coming. I just sit here and wait. We need to get a new song.
What are you trying to make a point with this?
Yeah, I've been talking about it all year that freaking Mahomes hasn't been up to snuff. And he just keeps getting dropped each week, and he's killing people in fantasy.
What are those things called? What is that league name called? I know.
I
it's
thought it was just called the Survivor League, but I mean, I don't
know.
They had the Vampire League where it's like the first one team doesn't draft, and whenever you beat someone, you get to take a player off their team.
Right.
I think that's a Survivor, and
there's a word for it. It's I think it's I don't know what it is. It's like a knife, kind of thing. I can't think of what the word is, but yeah.
cut.
No, it's like a French word. I can't think of what it is. But
Cut.
whatever.
Lay cut. Yeah. Either of you guys have this show got off the rails a little bit tonight. We got people calling you Drusif.
A
I usually
guillotine
go
league.
by-
It's a guillotine league.
That's pretty sick. That's a better name. I
Thank
like
you, Tyler.
Cool, yeah. Tyler would know.
The goat.
Nah, never mind. Donate to Rock Around 412. That's all I got.
Wait, yeah, I don't know if people might not have been in here earlier, but we're doing the live show. Me, Tyler, the girls from Yinzers. All money is going to go to Rocking Around the 412. It's going to be a live auction, though. So we got some more items to do just this show specifically. They're not the items that are already we have for Rock Around the 412 that anybody that donated or entered for. This is completely separate, but all the proceeds are still going to the same cause. Autographed Dermontti Dawson jersey. It even's got the Hall of Fame 2012 below the signature. Minka Fitzpatrick autographed jersey. Safety / this year linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Game used and autographed piece of stick from Chris Letang,
Piece of
which
stick.
is pretty interesting. Yeah, it's literally it's part of the shaft.
The shaft.
Yeah,
huh?
you can see the Reebok on it.
I have in my hand part of Chris Letang's shaft.
I'm jealous.
An autographed 11
I'm
by
surprised they
14.
didn't give you some load with it.
An autographed 11 by 14 Joe Hayden photo, which is in this. You're not going to see it. It's staying in there. And finally, Cam Hayward autographed helmet. Not mini helmet either.
Is that a rep or is that authentic? Is
Well,
it
the
a rep?
Steelers have never worn that before.
Yeah, but is it metal or is it plastic? Is what I'm asking. Because it sounds like it's authentic.
I guess.
Is it metal?
Put it on and then run into your wall real quick.
Hey, does it hurt?
I mean, it feels pretty.
That looks like it's an authentic one. You should.
Yeah,
I hope
yeah.
you guys get a good amount for that.
Yeah. It's dope. Actually, you know what? Take this off the table. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, yeah, so join us Wednesday, December 8th. We don't know the time yet. We're getting 5 people together, 3 different time zones. It's going to be interesting to how we get that to make sense and make it work. But either way, we will be here. The following day, the Steelers play the Vikings. So there we go. Not Dalvin Cook, though. Right, Drew?
Alexander Madison rushing for another 150.
Probably. All right. Anything else? Is that it?
I think that's it. We usually talk about the charts a little bit as my camera goes out for the umpteenth
You know what? I wasn't even going to bring it up because I didn't want you to have to explain.
We're having some data issues right now. So once I get my data feed back up and running, we'll get those posted on the site. But we won't go over them, obviously, because it's all the old data from last week.
I like how you said on the site. Like we have like an aroundthe412.com or something like that where it's going to be posted.
We don't? I thought you got the domain.
Like maybe we should. Maybe we should.
You usually talk about like streaming defenses, but since everything's down, I just want to point out the Niners defense because I think that you could stream them the rest of the way. We talked about Elijah Mitchell, but maybe Cincinnati could be fearful. But
what's the matchups?
Seattle, Atlanta, and Tennessee.
I don't know, dude. That Seattle offense. That vaunted Seattle offense.
Let me see. No, I have my stuff for the defense. So top defenses, obviously, somebody that may be available, the Eagles. They've got the Jets this week, looking pretty tough. Rams have been dropped in a lot of leagues, so you might be able to scoop them up. They're playing the Jaguars. 49ers versus the Seahawks, I would say is definitely a good option. Somebody that would be like good for the next 2 weeks would either be like the Vikings or the Chiefs. So just like the next couple weeks coming up. So,
the Vikings, huh?
Yeah. The Steelers suck. I don't know if you know that.
My mentions on Twitter absolutely have reminded me basically every minute of the last 2 days.
Oh, awesome. If you're watching this and you want to, you can go and join us a Steelers space right now on Twitter.
Or you can come and join me. I'm gonna have some chili. I'm gonna have some chili. It's gonna be delicious. So.
There's way too many Twitter spaces, but hey, don't let me rain on your fun.
I got an alert on my phone just now, and it said because you like the NFL, and it actually referred me to one of your tweets. Your big
that's great.
That is Pittsburgh Twitter right there, people.
It was your tweet about the Jets dancing with the Claypool mark too.
Oh yeah.
That's probably trending in the NFL hashtag.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been an off the rails episode of the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show. Make sure you're following our Twitter account, if not ever before, definitely for this week, because Joe still has to put out his charts when he gets that data. So he's been hounding the people on Twitter all day. So we'll see.
They won't call me back, man.
We'll see when he gets it and is able to put it up. But other than that, we can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. Of course, we can't mention enough. Rock Around the 412 going on until December 16th. Join us on December 8th if you would like to try to win one of these items. Place a bid and see if you can get the highest bid on one of these things. All money goes directly to the families, just like all the other money for Rocking Around the 412 does. Other than that, for Smitty, for Joe, for Drew, best of luck. Why are you putting your finger up at me?
Just a reminder, trade deadlines are this week. ESPN's tomorrow. Sleeper is after these week's
mine
games.
has already passed. So.
Block. Yeah.
And the data's here, so expect the stuff.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. So. All we need to do was sign off the episode. And that was it. So yeah, be following Around the 412 at AT412FF show for that information. Follow us at Around the 412. Follow Joe, follow Drew, follow me if you want. I don't know why you would, but definitely follow those two. Other than that, best of luck this weekend in your matchups, and we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Later.